So you're in the right place if you are ready to scale your B2B business. And if you're thinking of using partners to sell or scale, that's what we're going to be talking about today. I spent 25 plus years in enterprise software, and that's how I learned to sell and also learned to run teams and in particular channel sales teams, which I spent a lot of my time doing. So I did a bit of both, a bit of direct sales and a bit of partner sales, quite a lot of partner sales actually. And I did sell with partners internationally across Europe, the Middle East, Africa, into the Americas, Scandinavia, all over the world really. And so what I'm going to share with you today is the experience and what I learned and break that down into some really simple, easy ways of thinking about it so that you can get started yourself. So what I'm going to go through today is just give you the basic concepts of how B2B channel sales works so that you can think about whether that's the right fit for you and your business. So why partner? Why do we want to think about selling with partners in the first place? Well, the most obvious one is that you can extend your reach, and you can do that without extending your direct payroll. And this is actually why a lot of people get started with partnerships, because they want to grow fast and they don't necessarily want to directly pay a large sales team. So they will work with businesses who already have those teams, so they can just train them up and they're ready to go, as opposed to going out and recruiting and hiring direct employees. And this is a really, really good reason to partner, and especially when you want to partner with people to sell. It's when you want to partner to scale your business. And the good news about that is you can start right now with minimal investment. So you can get out there, start having conversations, find some good people to partner with, and you can do that kind of thing right now. As opposed to if you were trying to build your own direct team, you need to go out there and recruit and hire, and that's often much slower. And obviously, as we were saying, it requires some more upfront investment as well. In addition to selling with partners, you can also use them to strengthen your offering. So a really obvious one is in the tech world when software integrates, or if you've got software that works really well on a particular hardware, or there's technology that gets embedded in another technology to be sold as a package, all of those things that you can do to strengthen your offering. But it's not only in a technical space that this is the case. And you can also use partnerships to strengthen your offering from, perhaps you provide the software and they provide the wraparound services is a very common way to do it. Partners can help you reach new markets that you wouldn't otherwise get to. And not only can they help you reach new markets, you might do it more effectively through partnerships than if you tried to go out there and do it yourself. So if you think about me here in Australia trying to sell into Asia, for example, sure, I could get out there and I could myself try and sell there from here. One, that's a bit challenging. But two, I don't know the market as well as someone that's grown up there, that's been working there for 20 years. I don't have the language skills. Yeah, so having a local business in that market that you can work with that already has all of that in-depth knowledge of the market and how to sell there can be really, really powerful. And in addition to just, getting more numbers, more feet on the ground, it gives you all of that additional benefit as well. So working with partners to reach new audiences and new markets is a great reason to partner. It doesn't just have to be geographic audiences or geographic markets though. So it might be that, for example, you've been selling into the health sector and you know that really, really well. And you think, oh, I'd really like to get into construction. Yeah. Now, you might have software or a technology or some kind of workshop that you run that would work in both areas. Now, it might be a bit difficult to pick up what you've done in health and just go and immediately sell it into construction. But if you find a really good partner in that space that already knows the construction industry, it might make that transition much easier and much faster. The other reason that we partner, or another reason that we partner, is to borrow trust and credibility. So as a startup, if you're starting out, often, obviously, you're new at it, people don't know you, you just don't have the runs on the board that businesses that have been around for some time have. And so if you're trying to sell into large organizations, people are putting their neck on the line to agree to buy some solution, which your solution or somebody else's solution. The less risk for them, the better, right? And they're going to be nervous about their own job. Is it going to be successful? So if you can partner with someone who already has that trust and credibility, it can help you find a way into those larger organizations by borrowing on the fact that, well, they're partnering with us and you know that they've been around for a long time and you trust them and their name. So this is a really powerful thing and a really common way that startups break into larger organizations. You can also do a lot with marketing in partnerships. So particularly in this sales space, obviously marketing and sales work very closely together. So you can think about it as, yes, you can do joint marketing and that can borrow on that brand recognition, for example, and credibility. But just from a really practical sense, if someone's got a larger marketing team than you, maybe part of the partnership is that they do a bit more marketing in a particular area than you do, or maybe you partner with them to run the marketing. Yeah, if that's something in addition to the sales piece, and that's part of the overall services that they provide. So a very common way that this works, though, is actually that a vendor or the brand owner tends to own the brand marketing and being known as a brand in the market. And then the partners that are out there doing the selling, they sort of work at lead generation style marketing. So they use the brand collateral and the digital assets and all of that sort of stuff, and maybe do joint marketing with the vendor. But then in the field, they might do tactical marketing for lead generation in their own space. What's better than direct or partnering? Well, ideally, if you're growing, especially if you really want to scale, you will need a bit of both, because there are pros and cons to both approaches. But it will depend, of course, on what you're selling, the market you're selling into, what is the best fit for you. So it's never a one size fits all. It's always going to depend on your business and what works for you. One thing I would say, though, is if you have a direct team and a channel team, or if you're selling both through channel and directly, you want those things to work well together. What you don't want to be cannibalizing your own business. So, your direct sales team and your channel team going after the same business and just potentially driving the pricing down by competing. A little bit of healthy competition isn't bad, but it needs to be done in a way that works for everybody, then everybody can be successful. And there is a bit of an art to that. But it's usually about looking at the way you structure your commission structures, how you allocate leads, and having a bit of rules of engagement for both the channel and for the direct team. So how do the two things compare then? Well, there are some differences, and it's good to understand these so that you can see which is the best fit for you. And of course, there are different types of partnerships as well, which I'll get into in a minute. But firstly, let's look at direct sales versus partner sales at a high level. So in direct sales, when you're selling directly to the customer, you do have more control of the sales process. So what that means is you decide how to interact with the customer, and you've actually got direct control over that. You've also got more control over that customer relationship. So very often in partnerships, the partner will be the one with the direct customer relationship. Yeah. So that means that you are a little bit further removed from that. And so you have a little less control over that relationship with the customer. And that's one of the trade-offs in terms of getting that scale. Generally in direct sales, you will have higher margin, but that obviously needs to be thought about in the context of partner sales aren't free. You give away margin, but in direct sales, you are paying more because you're hiring directly. With direct sales, you just will get less reach. It is pretty much, I wouldn't say impossible, but very difficult to get the same level of reach directly than you can with partnering, because there's a whole bunch of businesses out there already that have salespeople out there selling, right? And if you're selling directly, that means you have to try and compete with that is difficult. Not impossible, but I would say very difficult. So what that will mean is direct sales can be a bit slower to scale. So if you're really wanting to grow fast, you really want to be thinking about partnering at least on some level, at least for part of your business. So one of the challenges of when you're scaling quickly is it's easy to let things spin out of control, so that you've got lots of partners out there having conversations with lots of people. Now, you don't know exactly what they're saying out there in field, right? So that can be challenging in terms of losing that little bit of control, as opposed to if you had a direct team where you'd be directly managing exactly what's happening out there in field. Partnerships also enable you to scale operations. So you can do that separately. So just purely partner with someone on an operational level. So they do something and you do something in that way, or it can be done in conjunction with selling. So say, for example, very common in a software world for a lot of years was that you'd have partners out there that would be resellers selling on a software solution. And those partners might also take care of some first level technical support, so that the vendor, the main vendor, only looked after sort of the really difficult technical problems and didn't get waylaid dealing with all the little customer inquiries. There's lots of other ways that you can scale your operations with partnerships as well. So you can really grow with partnerships in a way that is difficult to do directly, and it can be really exciting to think about the possibilities there. So what do we mean by selling with partners then? So in terms of channel sales, what do we actually mean by selling with the partners as opposed to just partnering in general? So there are many different types of partnerships. I'm going to go through some of the main types of partnerships, and we'll look at which ones might work best for you so that you can have a think about what's going to work in your own business. So the three types of partnerships that I'm going to talk about today are collaboration, referrals and affiliates, and reselling. So collaboration, this is usually where people start with partnerships, and it is a good place to start. I think the best way to think about collaboration is where you're just working alongside someone. So there's not always a commercial component. It might be some kind of in-kind swap, or, I'll do this, you do that. Really common way to collaborate is maybe on a joint event, for example. And it's a really good way to test the water. So it is a good place to start. If you're in Instagram world, Instagram, collaborations on campaigns, Instagram collaborations on campaigns are very common. You can run sort of joint giveaways and things like that. So I like to think of collaboration as these are your friends that you're hanging out with and you're doing stuff together, but you're not really tightly entwined in each other's businesses. You're not giving money either way. You just have a very simple arrangement to get started and to maybe test the relationship a little bit. Referrals and affiliates. So these terms get used a lot. Most people think of affiliates today, they think of affiliate marketing, which is where affiliate marketing, you give people links, and when people share that link with somebody and someone clicks on it and they buy your product, they get a fee. Yeah, so that's affiliate marketing. That's basically a referral. They're generally not out there actively selling on your behalf. They might just recommend you, and then people can go and choose to click on that link and buy. Okay, so it's a soft sell, if you like, but it's a referral. It's not usually a direct sell. Referrals also work in the real world, right? So it might be that someone actually takes you to a meeting and introduces you to someone. Not so common, but it does happen. Or it might be that you introduced someone to somebody else via email directly. Now, referral arrangements can just be more like a collaboration. I'll share and, introduce people when you think that will help each other. Or it can be something where you actually provide a fee for that referral. And then you put some rules around what a real referral looks like, how you decide when and how that referral fee might be paid. Yeah, it can be done in that direct introduction way or in a digital way through affiliate marketing. So sometimes when we're looking at potentially getting into a longer term partnership or a reselling partnership, we might start with a simple referral arrangement and just look to see the quality of the leads that are being shared each way. How do we like working with each other before you go into a full-blown reseller relationship, for example? So think of this as this is a light, mutually beneficial arrangement. They're not selling on your behalf. They're simply sharing information that other people can then choose to act on, or sharing information with you that you can choose to go and close that business. So think of this as a light, mutually beneficial business arrangement. Reselling. So this is where businesses can really scale. And this space is obviously shifting and changing as technology shifts and changes around how we buy and how we sell. But at its most simple, reselling is where you have another business that's actually selling on your behalf. So they have an authorization to go out there and sign up customers and sell on your behalf. And usually the way that works, although there are lots of different models out there, common way is that they will sign up a customer on their own paper, on their own contract, and part of that contract will be some kind of license arrangement with the vendor, especially in software world. Yeah. And then the reseller places the order with the vendor. So there's a bunch of different ways that can work, but generally reseller margins can range anywhere from 15% up to 45% in software world. If you're not in software, obviously those margins will differ a bit, but generally speaking, the amount of margin that you give to a partner depends on how much work they're doing. So that they're out there actually with their own sales team actively selling your solution, you're going to give them more margin than you would if they were just referring. So you can actually think of this as an extension of your sales team. A really good reseller will complement you as well. So you can actually see them as an extension of your sales team, and this is an opportunity to really scale. Just want to mention here that there is a difference between reselling and wholesaling. Okay, so if you're in physical product world, you be more familiar with a wholesaling model, which is quite different. So reselling, generally speaking, is a software model, and resellers on seller license, as I said, to an end user, and the end user retains a license directly with the vendor generally. For example, if you buy a HubSpot license through a reseller, your license is with HubSpot, not the reseller generally. Wholesaling is more traditional physical product model, right? So what that means is if you buy a physical product, you then own that product. Retailers, shops will buy stock from makers or wholesalers or distributors. They then own that stock. Yeah, and they can sell it to a customer in any way they want to. It is a little bit of a different model. The main thing is that reselling is more often used in licensing. Yeah, not only, but commonly. And wholesaling is where people hold stock. Wholesaling, they generally buy stock, they then own that stock and can sell it on. So where should you start? So collaborations, as I said, are a great place to start. They're low risk and you can test new relationships in a safe way. So what is going to make sense for your business? So one of the key things that you want to look for in a partner is that it's mutually beneficial. What we mean by that is that you can help each other. And ideal partners don't compete with you, but complement your offering. So what do we mean by mutually beneficial? So for example, if I am a marketing consultant who can set up great automations with XYZ marketing software, it helps me to find customers using that software because I can then sell my services to them and also do a great job for them, right? And as a partner, of that marketing software company, I promote and sell their software. That makes sense for me to do that. And the thing that helps the partner, helps the software company is I'm out there marketing and selling it, but I am also setting up their customers so that they use the software really well and they're getting a great experience. So this is the mutual benefit for the software company and for me as a marketing consultant. So what do we mean by complement our offering? Well, as an example, I sell courses for people that would like to learn to sell B2B. Marketing companies often work with businesses to create leads, but sometimes businesses in the B2B world don't know how to follow up on those leads. So marketing companies can make good partners for me. For example, sometimes it works well for us to have a referral arrangement in place so that we can share business with each other. So that's just an example of what we mean by complement. So I'm not wanting to be a marketer, and they're not wanting to do sales training, but we're working in the same space, and by working together, we can both help our customer get an overall better experience. I would start with collaboration to test relationships, and if you're looking at doing joint marketing and events and things like that, great place to start. Referrals and affiliates is a good next step, and that can bring you leads, but you have to work the sale. You won't get massive scale with referrals, but it can get you started with things and is a good fit for a lot of you. And then, of course, reselling is when you really seriously want to scale and you would extend your sales team and they actually sell on your behalf. So who are the best partners? The best partnerships are where the partnership benefits both them and you. And you want to look for partners where this is going to be the case. Okay, so what does that mean? So a benefit to you is that they can help you reach new markets, they can extend your reach in an existing market, and they'll help you extend your marketing budget with joint marketing. Benefits to them, for example, might be your product helps them sell more of their own solution and your product enhances their offer. Just think about a way that you've got a partnership where there is a true mutual benefit there. So how do we build partnerships? Well, I suggest starting with exploring, then looking at how you build on that once you've identified somebody. Test your partnership, important part of the process. Then you can invest time and resources and energy, and then you can grow and extend over time. So if we start by exploring, we really want to get out there and have some conversations, and good places to think about where we might want to start that are existing suppliers, so people that are selling things to you that you think, maybe there's an opportunity to partner. Businesses who are out there who could also sell your solution, and products that might complement yours. Are there products that people often use with or around your solution? These are all good places to start, but there's many, many ways and areas that you can explore for partnerships. And really, it's going to depend on your business and the possibilities in your space. So once you've identified a business that you think, okay, there's possibility here for a partnership, we go through a process. It's very similar to discovery and direct sales. We talk through all the different elements of the partnership. We sort of nut that out with them. I always recommend documenting that in a simple, can just be a Word document or an MOU, literally just writing down, this is what we're going to do, this is what you're going to do, and you review that together until everybody's happy. And it's good to do that before you get into a formal partner agreement, I suggest, because the partner agreement is just the legalese side of it, but actually you want to nut out all the things like commercials and marketing and who's doing what, how communication is going to work, and you just want that in a plain text document so that everyone can understand it and be on the same page before you move forward into a formal agreement. But this is kind of just nutting out the nuts and bolts of how the partnership's going to work. And then you want to test it. And this is a piece that I would say a lot of people often don't do, but it's a really good idea. So agree on how you're going to launch the partnership. Now, that might just be a very simple little thing to start with. You might say, why don't we just work on one deal together to start with and see how we go on that? And work on that, nut out all the niggles in the partnership, things that work, things that didn't work, see how you work together, see if this has got real benefit and possibility. And once you've done that and everyone's feeling happy, then you can move on from there. It's really a good idea when you're going through that to set out a really simple list of success criteria, but what a positive test is going to look like, so that you can all be clear on if this happens, what happens next, and also have a bit of a review together as what you can improve before you plow into the next phase. Once you've done all of that, then everybody's feeling energized and excited and ready to go and really invest time and energy into growing the partnership. And if you've got some success behind you, this works much better, right? If you've got that first deal, if you've got that first joint event or whatever it is, then it's much easier to go, okay, let's do more of this and really, really build on that. And that's when we get together and we build out joint sales plans, joint marketing plans, train each other's teams, and formalize all of that with a partner agreement. You can tidy up things like reporting and compliance and what cadence you're going to meet on and all of that sort of stuff, so that you've got a really strong system and basis to work together. And once you've got that, you can really grow. Now, the big difference between selling to a customer often and selling in a partnership model is that the relationships, your partner relationships, you work with them more closely and over a longer period of time. So it is much more of a business relationship where you're working together rather than a customer-supplier relationship. And the biggest mistake that people make when they start partnerships is they get all gung-ho at the beginning and then they don't put the time and effort in to maintain and build that relationship and keep it going over time. So you want to continually actively work your partnership so that you can make the most of that opportunity. So how do you actually go out there and find partners? Well, start with some research. Look at complementary solutions. As I said, businesses that may benefit from selling your services or whose customers need your product. Start conversations. Get out there in your existing network is a really good place to start. Just start having conversations with people to see where there might be a fit. Reach out to potential partners, book a meeting, and ask your customers about complementary solutions that they use and ask for introductions to the people that provide those solutions to them. So in those first conversations with those potential partners, all we're trying to do is ask questions to identify their goals and pain points as a business. And the key difference here between the way we do that in a direct sales scenario and a partnership scenario is that we're looking for ways that we can help each other from a business perspective. And you just keep having that conversation until you find an opportunity where, yeah, this looks like something that's going to work here to help us both grow our businesses. So as I said, the most common mistake with partnerships is that they set up a great partnership and they don't do the work to maintain and support that over time. So don't make that mistake. Make sure that you continue to build and grow your partners. So successful partnerships benefit both parties more than the dollar fee. There's more going on there in terms of that mutual benefit than just sharing a dollar fee. They build strong working relationships with regular connection, they have joint goals and review them regularly, and they clearly define each other's responsibilities. So you're really clear on who's doing what at every step of the way. And they also have really good support to make it easy for them to sell your product. So if you've got a whole bunch of wonderful partners out there working hard, you want to make sure that they've got everything they need to do a great job. So success is joint success in partnerships. It's not about handing something over and saying, off you go. It's about working together to build business. So to get started, all you need to do is identify 3 to 5 complementary businesses, reach out, book a meeting, start a conversation, and then you test, review, and scale. It's really simple. Starting those conversations is the first step. So with partnerships, you really can think big. Can get excited, and I encourage you to do that. The most important thing is to get out there and start some conversations and take some action.